Hello, I am Tahira Osama. I am originally from Dayton, Ohio. So I am a married woman. I have four children, two boys, two girls, ages ranging from 27 to 11. I have three brothers, only girl. I moved to Houston, Texas about 11 years ago. My initial goal, a reason for moving to Houston, Texas, it was to start a business. I wanted to open up a residential care home, but then I decided to open a fitness studio after realizing I needed to get healthy and work out. So I fell in love with fitness, and here we are, um, 6 years later, fitness studio owner. When I moved to Houston, initially I took a job as a school nurse, and I found myself sitting a lot, eating a lot because of all the good food here in Houston. And from there, I became very unhealthy. Those are not two, good combinations. And this is the reason why I started to work out. And as I started to work myself out, I began to pull in my coworkers because we all were pretty much doing the same thing, and we all had the same issue with weight gain and lack of movement. I did not know that the need was as great as it is here in this area in Houston. And, alhamdulillah, it grew very fast. The studio, it's a women's only studio. And we definitely encourage all women to come. Because I'm Muslim and because of the environment that I was in, initially it attracted a lot of Muslim women. However, what I found is that women in general just enjoy being in a space with other women and not feeling insecure or, pressured about how they're dressing or the movements that they're making. So we do provide a very accommodating area for all women to come and work out. So, both of my parents were brought up Christian, and they both reverted during the revolution, so to speak. So my father was the type of person who was fighting for African American rights, and my mother the same. So my mother's father, my grandfather, was a pastor, and when she converted or reverted to Islam, it wasn't accepted initially, and she moved from her hometown to Dayton, Ohio, and this is where she met my father, who was already in the movement, and learning about Islam, and then they met and worked together, and we were born Muslim and raised Muslim, and we were educated on Islam. We were not. I'll give you an example. When we were taught to pray in Arabic, we were taught the English first, because it was important for us to understand what we were saying so that we can implement it. Then we learned the Arabic. So we were homeschooled, the first few years. My parents actually were the first Muslims to develop the community where we're from. So they actually established the community in Dayton, Ohio. The African American Islamic community, I have to say it like that because where we're from, it's pretty segregated. You have African Americans in one area, and then on another side of town, you'll have Caucasians, and then another side of town, you'll have people who are not American, whether they're Indian or Pakistani. But from my experience, the religion was brought through the Ahmadi Masjid. It was brought through the Nation of Islam. And then my parents, after studying, helped to establish the Sunni Masjid there, which is where we were brought up. And so my mom actually veiled. She wore full niqab, where you cover the whole face. And at that time, that was definitely not accepted. My mom actually went to court to petition taking her driver's license picture with her veil on, and she won. She won the case. My father, actually, he passed away when I was 2. So he passed away at the age of 27. So my mother had 4 children. My youngest brother was sick, kidney issues. And so when my father passed away at 27, she was left here without family support because they were not accepting of Islam. 4 children, 1 was sick, and really just relying on faith, to push her through. She's not living anymore, but me being a grown woman now, I can only imagine, her thought process at that time, just trying to survive. My mother, being in the situation that she was in, was, doing the best she could, taking care of all 4 of us, and going to the masjid and helping out at the masjid. During, one of the times at the masjid, she did meet my stepfather, who was actually friends with my birth father, and actually made a promise to my birth father that he would take care of my mom and the 4 children and make sure that we were okay and make sure the community would take care of us. After my stepfather not being able to find any brother who wanted to marry my mother because of the 4 children, he married my mother, and he raised us up, and still to this day, he's my best friend. So from I wore hijab from elementary school on up. I always had an understanding of why I had a hijab on. It wasn't easy where we were from. We were the only Muslims in the entire neighborhood. The schools were not that great. There was a lot of bullying. We were bullied a lot. The kids used to snatch my hijab off, run around the classroom with it. I'm sure my brothers were teased. My baby brother was teased. But not once did it ever cross my mind to just take it off when I got to school and I wouldn't have this problem. It's like I knew why I was wearing it. I wanted to wear it, and every day I would wear it. I think we were just really educated, and we had a good understanding of why we covered. I wore hijab. My brothers would wear like the prayer caps on their heads, and I liked it. It did not bother me at all. Now, growing up, I did go through a period of time that I didn't wear hijab. I went through maybe 2 years, 2 or 3 years not wearing hijab. And I think it was just because of some things that were going on in my immediate family. Just, I don't know, something that we go through, in changing, finding ourselves. And so at the time I met my husband, I was actually not in hijab. I was stuck in the snow. It snows a lot in Ohio. He actually was walking up the street, and he wanted to help push my car out of the snow. I was stuck in my driveway, in the street, in the driveway. And I actually told him, it's okay, I got it, And he kept walking. And then I was gathering my things. I was going to go in the house and eat. And then I heard somebody say, turn the wheel to the right. And it was him. He was pushing my car. And, I was turning the wheel. And so he helped me to get out of the snow. And then, of course, he comes to the driver's side window to introduce himself. I didn't have a hijab. I had some glasses on. They were broke glasses. I wasn't looking special or anything. And so he was, trying to introduce himself and saying that he, wanted to know more about me, and I immediately told him, "Well, I'm Muslim," and it just, I said, "I know you can't tell, but I'm Muslim." So he was just like, "Okay," and then from there, he learned a lot, a lot about the religion. He's 10 years older than me, so he is in the service. He traveled around. I think he spent some time in Qatar or Dubai, and so he knew about Islam. And so he studied a lot, and ended up reverting. And we married. And I also wore niqab for 7 years. So I do know that struggle as well. Even though I didn't look at it as a struggle, again, like with the hijab, I loved wearing it. But I did find myself in situations where I was being attacked by other people here in Houston, at the store, if they see me in niqab, and then, they may, stare, roll their eyes. I had one man verbally say, "Go back to Pakistan." So, but it's still easier, I believe, for us today to wear hijab, to wear niqab, to wear full abaya, to pretty much dress however you want to dress in this country, based upon what was done for us in the past. As far as being a African American hijabi in this country, I almost feel like it may be a little bit more difficult to be an African American in this country than a hijabi. And I find that people automatically question your work ethic, or they'll question your, what's the word? They'll question your ability to be able to execute whatever it is that you are offering, or whatever you are involved in. A lot of times people will feel that you're not worthy to be at the status you are because you're African American. And this is just from my personal experiences. I do have two African American sons who are, one is 19, one is 17. And example, when they started to drive, I did have to have that conversation, which a lot of us African Americans do, have the conversation about, if you're pulled over, how to conduct yourself, what to expect, what to do if a situation is escalated without you realizing or understanding why. So, these are the type of things that we have to do in order to prepare our children, because to not do that is as a disservice to them, because whether we want to acknowledge it or not, it's something that they're going to have to deal with when they step out into the world. I would like to talk about the studio. I want to, my goal is to just help women in general learn to put themselves as a priority. We do so much as women. We put ourselves last. We take care of everybody else in the family. And when we do that, we find ourselves with low self-esteem sometimes, low confidence, low energy, health issues. And my ultimate goal is to encourage ladies to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take some time out for myself. I am going to go to this exercise class, or I'm going to take this walk. I'm going to go to the spa. I'm going to do something for me so that I can refill myself before I pour out into others. One of the best things that I like to talk about when we mention ADF. A lot of people will say, "Oh, you're a Black-owned businesswoman, or you are a Muslima-owned businesswoman." But I love to focus on the fact that we represent over 20 cultures in the studio. I come from a place that's very, very, like I said, segregated. And so it wasn't until I moved to Houston that I was introduced to so many different people from all over the world. And I just feel like that is our greatest strength, that we bring together so many different people. So from my upbringing, from birth to age 30, I lived in a community that was all African American, all Black people. And I really appreciate the culture, the diversity here in Houston. I love the fact that my children have friends from all over the world. And it's a wonderful thing when we can learn from one another and be around one another. And it is just one of the best decisions that I made by moving to Houston.